should be on. Let me turn off this turn thing. Okay. Okie dokie. Just testing. Oh. Okay, bro. My mic quality is like poop water, but it does work. So that's the one thing. Yeah. Anyways, today we are going to be watching ex-Christian videos. So let me make my screen bigger. Okay. So the app audio is going to be decently high-ish, and then my microphone audio, of course, is going to be max volume. Anyways, let's get started. So today, as I said, we're going to be watching ex-Christian videos, right? So I myself am a Christian. I have a Blessed Mother right here. And to explain to you guys is the fact that we are going to be doing a little bit of crashing out. We're going to do a little bit of fun teasing, and we're going to be doing some helpful commentary, right? Of course, we're not going to be trashing on people. Just the content they're making, we'll be explaining and having a good time about it, right? So that's just the run through. So we're going to go down to here, and we're going to go put in hashtag ex-Christian. And I'm going to make sure to turn up my volume. Okay, bro. Whoa. Okay, ready? Let's start. Also, I will be wanting to watch shorter videos, I think. So we're going to be doing shorts today. That's the specific thing.
Okay, so get this right. I bring you down to earth, and you're going to live for a...
Leaving Christianity after realizing that God sent souls into human bodies were failing to find him means eternal damnation.
Short amount of years, and you gotta find the right God, right? You gotta find me. But if you don't find me,
Okay, bro. This is insane. Okay, let me explain, right? So, this is crazy. Okay, wait. This is crazy. Okay, bro, let me explain this. God does not send people into bodies so that we can go and just be subscribed to hell, right? That's not the way this works, right? Oh my gosh. This is extremely inaccurate. I am not even joking, okay? God doesn't send us into human bodies. We are gifted the ability to have life. And because of that gift, we have the choice to pick him or to not pick him. So because of that, we can either choose to be with God or we can choose to not be with God. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be sent to hell just because, it does mean if we make the wrong decision, we can be sent to hell. That is true. But it's not because God wants us to either choose him or choose not, right? It's that God is you know what? I give you this gift of life and you can honor it and you can respect me and you can be with me if you want, or you cannot choose with me, right? So damnation is not exactly just being, it's like fire and hell. It's separation from God, right? So you experience life, you go through life and you see things and the way you act and you are returned for what you did and what choices you made. And if you chose God out of all those choices, because God is good, right? God is the goodness. If you don't choose the goodness, you're going to end up with the badness. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So it's Don't know about that one, Chief. But, hey, bro. Fair point, I guess. Let's see the next one.
If our eternal
Mommy, I'm doing a live stream. Are you angry?
No.
Okay. I'll be talking and stuff. Back to the stream.
fate depends on finding God, then why is he hiding? We're told that belief in God is the difference between heaven and
He's not hiding.
hell.
There is an entire book. There is an entire book talking about his existence. He's not hiding. He's just not telling you straight in your face because he has different ways of doing things than we want them to be done.
He loves us, and he wants a relationship,
He does.
but he doesn't speak, doesn't appear.
Guys, he doesn't speak. He doesn't speak. He doesn't speak. He doesn't speak, bro. He doesn't speak, bro. Living word. That's what it's called. Living word. He doesn't speak.
Doesn't show up.
He doesn't show up.
We hear he shows up all the time, in nature, in scripture, in your heart. But let's be real, if any other person treated you like that, you wouldn't call it presence.
God is not any other person. He is not a normal human being. He is not a person who acts like a normal person. He is God, a spiritual being above all of creation. So you cannot categorize him, right? The word holy means, right, in Greek terms, there's one of them is to be something with consecration, and the other is to be set apart, right? So God is specifically, not just because he's higher, but he's set apart, right? He's not like any other person, right? Jesus is not like every other person, but specifically God as a being is not like a human. It's not a person, right? We're made in his image and likeness, but we're not God exactly like him, right? We're not exactly like that. So you cannot say, oh, imagine if any other person did that. God is not any other person, right? He's not a person that, does that. He is the creator of everything, right? He sets the rules. So it's like, just because you want to govern it by your own rules doesn't mean that he's wrong or he's false or he doesn't exist, right?
You call it silence. If a parent said, I love you, but I'll never speak, never show my face.
Bro. He speaks. He shows his face. What do you not get, bro? John Cohen, what do you not get, bro?
And never give me clear proof I'm even here.
The resurrection?
We wouldn't call that love.
So like all of existence being in existence, nothing comes from nothing? Isn't that like a term that you learned from like kindergarten?
We call it abandonment. If our eternity depends on belief, then hiding isn't love. It's cruelty.
He's not hiding. He's not hiding.
If
Oh my gosh, bro. What is he talking about? Actual slop, bro. Anyways, it's fine. Good points. Good stuff. But it's kind of inaccurate because I will say that God is not like any other person. He is a loving parent, but he is in ways that isn't so obvious to see as the way you want it to be, where it's right in front of your face, right? We already have evidence of stuff in existence anyways. It's not like God doesn't exist because there's no evidence and we just believe because we believe. That's not how it works. It's not how it works, right? Okay, next one. Let's go.
Is there any evidence of there not being a God?
Any evidence is the material to go behind something that does exist. No evidence for something that doesn't exist. I mean, if you say like proving something that is not existent, but that's different, I guess.
Okay, so
evidence means something that you back up something with in terms of proving it right. It's not really the right term of using evidence, but okay, we'll see.
in the comments, can you explain to me how you would have evidence of the lack of existence of something?
Okay, never mind. This guy is not dumb.
Especially something that supposedly exists outside of the universe.
Thank you. Next one.
Master Faye.
Nope.
Right? Where was God doing slavery when all of these horrible atrocities were taking place?
In heaven.
Right? Sometimes we think that God is just going to crack the sky and make the bad things stop.
Not like that, no.
Right? But when we get to know who we get.
Okay, this is a Christian video though, so this is not really helping. This is not me going against someone.
An infinite.
Is this the guy that we saw earlier? I think it is. Yeah, I wouldn't mind reacting to him again. Okay, whatever. We'll react to a new artist. What is this? Oof.
What if I told you that Adam had a secret son that the church hid? You've heard of Cain and Abel, but according to the secret book of John, a book the church banned, God is...
Okay, some of y'all did not grow up.
We shall see.
You walk up to the pearly gates and you are confused.
Trying to find something easy.
Oh my gosh, I gotta tell you about how wonderful my God is. Oh, no thanks, I'm good. Listen, God is so good. His love never fails, and he will change your life.
Okay. Remember, this is an over-exaggeration. This is not how most Christians, I think, would normally talk. I mean, that's just from my experience. Most Christians talk with a lot more, I don't know, just not like, did you know how awesome he is? He's just so amazing. Like, didn't you know about this guy who was just so awesome? Like, it's not like that all the time.
Wait, didn't your God send 2 bears to maul 42 children?
Are we really talking this explanation?
Just because they called the prophet Baldy? Well, God's ways are greater than ours. Right. Oh my gosh.
Okay, let me explain this real quick. Just so your head's out of the gutter, okay? Born again atheist. That's a crazy name for a content creator, but that's fine. What I will say, even though God did send 2 bears to kill a bunch of children, that was a punishment for the way they were treating the children, okay? It seems unfair, unjustified. But at the same time, if you actually read the scripture and you actually read the context, the kids weren't doing just like that. They were like mocking God. They weren't just mocking the prophet. They were literally mocking God as well, right? So, yes, God has the right to do that anyways, right? And it seems unfair, unjustified, because it's like, oh, how can just one insult be justified for killing 42 kids? That seems ridiculous, right? How can God be just? How can God be good, right? But I think the perspective is that you have to understand that, like, if you do read the context, right? If you do read the surrounding area, in this passage specifically, God talks about how they were also mocking him as well. Not just the prophet, you know, they weren't just saying, ha ha, your head is bald, but they were also insulting God as well. I don't remember the exact verse, but I do remember that there's more in context to it than just, being told an insult, Like, that's not the same thing, right? So, oh well. Okay, next one. 3 disturbing Bible passages organized religions ignore. Jephthah vows to sacrifice the first thing that comes out of his house, ending sacrificing his virgin daughter. Should we go read into this? Judges chapter 11. Okay, let's see, bro. Judges chapter 11. I haven't read Judges before. I will be honest. But, chapter 11. Okay, he was a warrior. He was the son of a prostitute fathered by Gilead. Gilead's wife was born him sons. Fled up the brothers. And I know I'm skipping through this, but I want to get to the exact verse because he didn't specify what verse it was. Be your commander so you can fight the Ammonites. They were not the ones who hated me and drove me from your house. Wait. So he talks about fighting the Ammonites and says that. And then commander... What do you have against me to fight with me in your land? And then that, and I restore peacefully, and send messengers and Ammonites saying to him, what Jephthah says? Wait, let me see. Send passengers to Shechan, and land passed through, refused to let the tutorial. The soldiers fought Israel, power of Israel, Ammonites who fought in the region. Where does he say that? Jephthah. Okay, here. Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, and he passed down to Gilead and Massah, and he crossed over the Ammonites, and he made a vow to God, I will deliver the Ammonites into your power, he said. Whoever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return from the Ammonites in peace shall belong to the Lord. I shall offer him as a burnt offering. Jephthah crossed the Ammonites to fight against him. The Lord delivered his power, and he inflicted a very severe defeat on their roar. And she was the only child she knew. When he saw her, he tore his garments and said, Ah, my daughter, you have struck me down and brought calamity upon me, for I make this vow that a God cannot take back. Father, she replied, you have made a vow to your dad. The virginity, he goes, replied, sent her away 2 months. So she departed, her companions wept for Virginia in the mountains. At the end of the 2 months, she returned to her father, and she did as well. She had not relations with them, became custom in Israel for anyone who was called to more north. She didn't die. Get your facts straight, bro. I'm not going to review anymore because that was already long enough for one short, but get your facts straight, bro. She made a vow, but she didn't get killed. Okay. So, the explanation for this is one that I don't exactly know. But hear me out. Okay. I guess guess it does say that he sacrificed her daughter, right? Now, let's go research it. Why in Judges 11 did God let a virgin daughter get sacrificed? Let's see here. Right. In Judges 11, God did not command a human sacrifice. The judge Jephthah made a rash, uncommanded vow to burn whatever greeted him. So, remember this, right? From that passage specifically, here in this video, it says, oh, this is a disturbing Bible passage, but this doesn't do anything with God. This shows actually the consequence of making a rash vow and promise to God, right? And God accepted the vow, but he didn't, but Jephthah didn't know the consequence of doing that. Right? So he ended up having to sacrifice his own daughter. It doesn't mean that the Bible says that sacrificing the daughter was a valid excuse. It does not say that, right? It doesn't say that God commanded that to happen. Jephthah made that decision, and that was because of his own choice and because of Israel's spiritual decline that he made that decision and ended up costing his daughter because he made a vow in return for defeating his enemies, which is one that he probably shouldn't have made. But this is a consequence of a human's decision, not of God, not saying the Bible validated, nothing like that, right? So this doesn't mean that organized religions ignore it. It just means that it's a clear example of human error and mistake, not of God making a decision and it being contradictory to God's nature or how the Bible describes God typically, right? So, next one.
Find God for yourself.
I know this. No sleep time, bro. We ain't sleeping today.
I grew up evangelical, and the first song that started my long, slow deconstruction process was at 10 years old listening to Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Okay.
It expanded my horizons. A song about girls, and they're allowed to have fun.
Is there a conception that you're supposed to like have a boring life if you're a Christian? I mean, maybe if you're evangelical, I guess. But I mean, like, bro, I'm talking about like everything in general, dog. Right? Everything in general, bro. Being a Christian is not a boring lifestyle. It's just a lifestyle with actual meaning and intent and purpose that you have, right?
I grew up evangelical, and the first song that's...
Oh, well, if that's the reason why you don't believe in God is because you think that girls want to have fun is an accurate interpretation of what your life's meaning should be, I think you should go back and look at the reason why you're alive and what you're living for, because I think that's a ridiculous thing to base your life's meaning on, right? Like, God is not just God. It's also your meaning, your purpose, your life, your reason, right? It's like... It may seem boring on the outside, but, you know, living with God is living with intent, with purpose, with, you know, actual, like ways and instructions to live and not just, you know, doing things just because, right? It's not just doing things because girls want to have fun. It's doing things because you actually want to understand and, like, learn and grow and become a better person and understand the world and the universe around you with actual meaning and intent rather than just being, like, you know, nothing, right? So, hey, that's the one thing. Let's hear. Black atheist? Hashtag black atheist is an actual hashtag. Okay, what's this guy? This guy again, bro. My favorite dude. The Omni Strode. I would never go through with sacrificing my only son just because God said to me to do it to test me.
I would never do that. But the fact that you tried to defend that, you look way crazier than I do. Like, I don't know.
I don't get what the argument is. It's not an argument. It's just It's just saying that what you believe seems too crazy for me to believe happened. It's too ridiculous for it to exist. There's no way. You just seem crazy. You just seem crazy that you believe in something that might seem a little bit ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Haha, I'm right. That's not an argument. That's just blatant, like, I don't know. Anyways,
I'm not upset.
here's another one from the Omnistro, and I guess this is gonna be my my buddy for this stream, I guess.
Y'all, because I know you're meant.
Why did a black Christian just DM me saying God put us in slavery to teach us a lesson because he loves us?
Really ill, which is why I want.
Yeah, Loki, that black Christian is right. That guy is right, bro. Not to teach everyone a lesson, but, you know, consequence of human free will, right? I don't get, he doesn't make arguments with actual evidence or actual proof or actual anything like that. He just says like, oh my gosh, this is too crazy. I can't believe it. You must be stupid for believing in something this crazy. It seems so grounded in something that is ridiculous for it to be real. That's not an actual valid point. So, yeah. Oh, well. Let's see. What's the next one?
I said quit your church. And
So I should leave my wife and kids because the reaction will prove I shouldn't have been there in the
this
first
guy's
place?
counterpoint was to compare leaving church to leaving his wife and kids. And this is such a perfect point. Not because it's good or right in any way, but because it's so efficiently telling. In just one little
What? Leaving your church is like leaving your wife? Wait,
comment,
rewind.
I said quit your church, and this guy's counterpoint was to compare leaving church to leaving his wife and kids. And this is such a perfect point. Not because it's good or right in any way, but because it's so efficiently telling.
What does that mean?
In just one little comment, he exhaustively exemplifies exactly why some churches are the kind of place you need to leave. If your church uses language that places them at the same level as your most intimate family relationships, that's toxic. Back when
So his argument is saying that it's ridiculous to follow the church if it means that if they're saying that it's more worthy to sacrifice, I guess, your time or your love or, you know, your priorities of that over your wife and your children. That is kind of dumb, I would say. I don't know. It's not dumb, but it's a fair point, I guess. What I will say is that believing in church, in the church, is not necessarily a bad thing, right? And the thing is, we follow under the church because the church is not in a sense like a replacement family for our actual family. It is our body that encompasses all people who believe in the same thing and believe in God, right? So when we believe in God, we have a group of believers, and that is the church, right? You have the church, which is the building, and then you have the church, which is the body of people, right? So when you're saying body of people, the body of people that believe in God, right, share that unity there. It's not the same family. It's not the same obligations. It's not the same exact value, right? Your church family is not the same as your home family because your wife and your spouse and your children are super important as well, right? God is more important, right? Christ is more important, right? But your family is also important, right? So sometimes we're called to make sacrifices or to make, you know, like in our heads to make vows of, you know, saying that, you know, like, you know, God, like first commandment, right? Like God has to be above everything, right? So even above your wife, even above your children, right? You cannot just leave God, right? Because the church is is part of what brings you to God. Without the church, you aren't going to be brought to God fully, right? If you have the option to. So without the church, you're basically brought away from God. And if you're brought away from God, God is the highest priority. So yes, God is above your wife and your children, as ridiculous as that seems, right? God is truly everything, right? So it's like he's above God. God is above every human, every purpose, every existence, everything in all of creation, right? But it doesn't mean that God doesn't care or doesn't want you to care about your family or say, oh, I'm going to throw my family away from my church. That's not the way it works, right? It's just saying, oh, God is the highest priority. The church is the way to bring me to that. It is a group of people that help me get to that, but it's not, the church itself isn't the solution to anything. It just brings you to the solution. You know what I mean? You get what I mean, guys?
I left church, that adjective was not so readily available or as common to describe relationships.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't think leaving your wife or family is either good. So just don't do either. Don't leave church and don't leave your wife and don't leave your kids. Don't do that. Stay in church. Stay with your spouse. Stay with your kids. That is the right thing to do. Okay. God loves you and God wants you to do all those things. Okay. What is this? Okay, bro. Super sus activity. Okay, what church is this happening at? I know for sure this is not Catholic. All right. All right, bro. Super sus activity at church. Yo, what is this, bro? Nah. Is that his legs? Okay, well, I will say, though, that the lady who's reacting to that is kind of making a fair point, but I don't think Catholics do that, so we don't have to worry about that one. That is a little sus, though, and I don't know what type of tradition or practice that is, but I don't think that's a normal part. What's this? Let's see. Oh, there are a lot of these videos of this lady. Who's this lady? Abraham Piper.
I saw an actual WWJD bracelet out in the...
It's not a lady. It's not a lady. Whoops. Uh-oh. Whoops, it's not a lady. Sorry. Guy. Okay.
Did you know that women couldn't be preachers if microphones weren't invented? They don't have the strong, powerful voices that carry like men's voices do. God created men to be the preachers.
Did you know that men wouldn't be able to write letters to churches saying that women shouldn't be preachers if ink hadn't been invented? They don't have...
What? I don't get this.
Strong, powerful voice that carries like a postal system does. It looks like God created...
Okay, the argument that God designed men to be preachers and not women is because men's voices are louder. I don't know if they're louder. Girls can scream pretty loud too. I don't think if God wanted to make a distinction, I think guys would be able to yell very loud or girls would yell very loud. And then the opposite one would just be extremely quiet and not be able to yell very loud. Girls can yell pretty loud. I've heard them squeal. I've heard them go like, "Hey, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Oh my gosh, I didn't know about that. Oh my gosh, bestie. No, I don't know about girls not being able to yell as loud. Maybe they're a little quieter. Maybe their voices aren't as, I guess, loud. I don't know. I don't think it's like that though, because I think both sides can do that. I think, yes, men have been predominantly in history the main people that have been drawn to preaching, but that's because men have a specific role by God, and God chooses them for that. So it doesn't mean that the women can't preach. It just means that God's intention for the specific person, maybe specifically a guy to preach and maybe not a woman, but I don't know. I don't know exactly all the details, right? I can't read God's mind. So that's that. That's the understanding about that, right? Next one. What's this? Guests
does not erase all the bad in the book.
That's why I do these lives. I'm not just picking on yours. I'm picking on all of the problematic ones.
I understand that completely. And what I want to do for you in respect of what happened to you in your position, I am going to look deeply into what you're talking about. I am going to ponder what you're like about this PDF issue within Islam. I am going to seek the truth, and if the truth is that is what it is, and there is no justification to be had, then I may sway my mind.
First of all, deconvert is not a proper word. You mean convert. Deconvert just mean you convert and you convert out. It's not really a word. Convert is already the description of someone who is changing through their belief system. Deconvert, I guess, just means you're taking that away. It doesn't mean you're changing to something else. So that's kind of like, really? Deconvert? That's the first point, right? The grammatical issue. The second point that I have to say is that that's not deconversion. That's called open-mindedness, okay? That's called being open-minded, which this girl is definitely not being. Being open-minded and saying, you know what? If that is the truth and I'm believing in something that is wrong, then I'm willing to change. That is something that everyone, I think, should do. I believe everyone from the bottom of their heart should ask the question, am I wrong? Should I do something to change? Because how can we expect someone to change for the better if we can't change for the better if we are wrong, right? So, yes, but being open-minded doesn't mean deconverting. And she's like, oh my gosh. There's no way. There's no freaking way. He's deconverting in front of my eyes. Oh my gosh. I'm a D preacher. I'm a negative preacher, bro. Like, oh my gosh, bro. I'm so freaking intelligent. Oh my gosh.
Whoa. If you are putting the X over crap.
When you learn that church is all about control and that you were indoctrinated since birth, church is not about control. Church is about choosing. You can be there and be completely free to be in the church. Yes, Christian parents should introduce you and bring you to church, and should help you identify understanding the church. But it's not forcing. Who's forcing you to stay in the church and to be with that, right? You can completely choose to leave, right? It's not about control. It's about helping you understand. And if you don't want to believe in that, then you don't have to, right?
I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus.
So you become an agnostic. Oh my gosh. Agnostic atheist. Agnostic atheist. That's not real. What is happening? Agnostic atheist. You mean agnostic or atheist or an agnostic atheist? I don't think she understands the difference if she put it in the same barrel. Agnostic atheist. Someone who thinks there might be something, and then someone who thinks there is nothing cannot be two in the same. That's called contradicting yourself. You cannot be an agnostic atheist. You can either be an agnostic or you can be an atheist. You cannot be both, okay? So ridiculous, bro. The church is not about control. You can have completely free will, and just because your parents bring you to church or your parents teach you about the church doesn't mean that you have been brainwashed or you have been indoctrinated or you have been kept to stay in the church for all your life. That is not the way it works. Let's see. Ever wonder how a pastor can become an atheist? Ooh, is this a pastor who became an atheist? That could be interesting.
Have you ever wondered how a former pastor could become an atheist? Guess what? This YouTube channel, it's for you then. Y'all, I'm the Godless Guide, and I was a former Lutheran pastor, and now I'm an outspoken atheist.
He was Lutheran. That's your issue. You have to be a Catholic priest, and then you'll understand why you don't want to be an atheist anymore. I understand Lutheranism, but try out the real religion, and then you'll understand, bro. Is this the same girl? I think we need to start watching stuff that's actually unique. So let me go down a bit. Stuff with like a good amount of views. What is this?
Well, God must be exercising the shit out of his free will then, because he's not loyal to anyone.
Yeah. God is loyal to us. He loves us, and he sacrificed his only son for us, and he gave us everything we could ever want in terms of like things on the planet, not like individually, but saying there's anything in the world. God has the free will to do whatever he wants because he's God, and that's common sense, right? He's not loyal in the sense of like he has to obey, but he is loyal in the sense that he keeps his promises and he fulfills things that he says he will do, right? Because he is just and is good, right? He's not confined to someone, or he doesn't have to be some human's like puppy dog, right? It's not like that, you know? And he's not like he makes promises and then just dips right after that. He's like, yo, bye. He's like, yo, bro, I'm gonna save you, and then bye. Like that. And does nothing. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that, right? He doesn't do that. So that's the point, right? Okay, next one. Greek philosopher.
I have a question for you. Do you believe in God? If you do, then how do you solve the problem of evil?
That's a good one. Good, actually good presentation for a video.
Greek philosopher Epicurus said, if God is willing to prevent evil, but he's not able, then he is not all-powerful. If he is able, but not willing, then he is not all good.
This is very common of a question.
If he is both able and willing, then where does evil come from? If he is neither able nor willing, then why call him God?
Whoa.
The problem of evil has been debated by theists and atheists for a long time, and I have some ideas of my own, but I'm curious, if you're a believer, how do you make sense of it? And if you're an atheist, is this the definitive proof that there is no God?
It's a good argument. It's like, if God is truly good, why would he let evil, right? If God is fully able, then why would he let evil be in, right? If God is fully good, why would he let that happen, right? And to give an answer to the question, it's like, and also he gave the argument as well, if God is all powerful, why can't he? If he's not either able or good, where does evil come from? And if he's not willing and he's not able, then how is he all powerful, right? So that means there must not be a God, right? My description of this is this way, right? God gives you something called, and I know a lot of people talk about it, but it is free will. Free will does exist. Free will is a thing, and God gives you free will all the time, right? The reason why evil happens in the world is not because God just allows it to happen because he can't stop it, right? God allows evil to happen in the world. He does. He does let bad things happen, right? If God wanted to, he can stop all the evil. He can stop all the bad things happening. He could cure cancer. He could stop world starvation. He could end all the bad things on the planet. And it seems like if God doesn't do that, then how can he be truly good? How can God be the person that the Bible or many Christians or the church teaches? And my explanation to you is this. God truly does love you enough to let you do evil things that he doesn't like, right? God lets you choose the bad, because if he only let you choose the good, then that's not free will. If the good option is the only option, then that means you can't choose between good or bad, right? But because there is a good, a bad, and there is a good, You can go to whatever side you want. So evil happens because of the consequence of humans, not because of God just saying, oh, yes, we need this because I want this to happen. No, God doesn't want evil to happen. God lets evil happen because humans make the choice for evil to be in the world and to exist. But it's not out of God is evil or God can't stop it, right? He's able to do it. He's willing to let evil come into the world, and he has let evil come into the world. The world is filled with evil things, and that's very evident from the day you are born. I mean, and when you can remember and think and stuff. But God does understand things and understand our suffering. That's why he sent down his only son, and that's why, he died for our sins. But those bad things happen because of free will. Next question. Let's see.
While I miss my family, as soon as I realized I was in a cult, I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work for me. And I actually
Jehovah's Witness? Ooh.
had a phone call with my grandparents and then a separate phone call with my aunt. And I told them outright, I don't believe in Jehovah anymore. I don't believe in the Bible.
Well, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, so I will not be behind that. But that's perfectly fine. Oh, this one looks interesting.
So many people use the Bible as the book of the owl. Like it's this big book of how.
Okay, bro. You got the thing in the back. You got the thing in the back of your hair, though. That's why?
Happened.
Okay, no offense, bro, but why is your head so flat on the back? No offense at all. That's just interesting. He has really good jawline, nice face shape like that, and then it just goes whoosh, straight down. That's insane.
It's this big.
Almost like he was dropped on the head as a baby. No, I'm joking.
Book of how everything happened. No, it's a story. Okay. So many people use the Bible as the book of the owl.
Dalalo? The book of Dalalo? You mean laws?
It's
You guys, we don't need 3 likes, okay? We don't need 3 likes in everything. I come from a place where people use a lot. We don't need 3 likes and it's what?
Thing happened.
Nothing like that. But if you're going to be talking and actually making a point, bro, actually talk with audible speech. Please. There's no audible speech.
So many people use the Bible as the book of the owl.
The book of Thalalo is not Thalalo is not a word, I think, or nothing I can make out. It's 4 likes. If we're gonna make an actual religious point, be serious about it, please. That would be very helpful.
Big book of how everything happened. No, it's a story. It's a story. You know how your mom read you stories?
It's not a story tale, but it is a story because it's about history. A lot of things is passed down through stories. The story of Martin Luther King is a story. Doesn't mean it's a story tale, but it is a story.
Tales when you were younger.
Story tale when you're young. What is he doing, bro? What is he speaking? Why is he speaking like that, bro? I can't understand it. I can't understand. I can't understand it, bro. I literally just why does he speak like this, bro? Why does he got the cone, bro? This is the most unserious. Get your. Sorry. No offense. Just that was a ridiculous video. How much time have we had in the stream? 59 minutes. Nice. Okay, 49 minutes, sorry. Next video. I've seen this guy. Okay, I don't know this, but this guy it's kind of goofy. What is this?
How does Hecate help us deconstruct from Christianity?
Who's Hecate?
I'm answering questions I've gotten on videos about Hecate. If you have a question, see if I've answered it in a video on the playlist. If not, leave it in the comments.
Okay. I don't know what Hecate is, though. That'll be honest. Oh my gosh. It's the Omnistrone all over again. Let's see if he actually has a real argument or if it's just going to be, oh, I don't know. That just seems crazy to believe in that stuff.
Think in all power
I'm sorry if someone misrepresented Jesus to you.
for God will allow people to misrepresent him?
Yes. Because we have free will and we can choose to do stuff that isn't good. And one of those things is to one bad thing that you can do is misrepresent God. Because you can choose to do that because that is an option that God gives you. Bang.
Because if that's the case, I am very much good on the God that you worship. Because see, here's the thing, if somebody misrepresents me, I can clear up a lot of stuff. I can clear up my...
Praise the Lord. I give glory to God. Wishing you Godspeed. Yeah.
name. I can cause like actual action for defamation.
So just because God can't sue you or God can't go in person. Okay. I'm not gonna finish the short. Let's do this. Let's do let's do hashtag atheist. Because I think there's more stuff on that, right? Hashtag atheist. Okay, just because God doesn't back himself up all the time just like that, like just goes in front of your face and says, bro, he's misrepresenting me, doesn't mean that people have shown that, right? Yes, people make mistakes. Yes, people misrepresent God. First of all, God has scripture. Then you have Jesus, right? So you can look at both of those things, right? You can look at Jesus and you can look at scripture and you can see what is the actual example of way of living and the context within it, right? We have the church and we have people, right? And there are certain places that make different mistakes and stuff like that, right? But to understand it first, if you want to really know and you really want to understand if there's something that is really right by God's terms or not, look at Jesus's life. Look at the way he lived and the things he did, right? The main reason why God is misrepresented is that people either take things out of context or they show a side of something that isn't honest or isn't true or isn't clear. So if you want to get that, go to the root, go to the source material, go to the Bible, go to Jesus's teachings and find out for yourself. You don't need to read on an atheist page. You don't need to read on a Christian's page all the time either. You don't have to read from any of them. Neither of them are the true source of understanding your actual background context on understanding things, right? You just go and you actually look at the stuff and you go like, huh, is that actually the truth, right? That's the actual thing, right? Does that make sense, right? Is it ridiculous or is there actual stuff behind it, right? So that's what you have to research. So we're going to go to hashtag atheist and go to shorts and watch that stuff, right? So, and we have, let's see. How much time do we got left? I think we have about like 37 minutes. I think I'll do an hour and a half for the rest of the stream. Let's see. Okay, let's see.
Religious apologists and certain theologians, as much as they may imply otherwise, are not educated on how atheists think, act.
Okay, fine. We'll go back to ex-Christians because that's a little bit better of a source for finding people who just like instinctively talk about their perspective as being an ex-Christian. So let's see, let's go down. Let's find something niche. Not by those big atheist artists. Okay. Let's wait here. Let's see. I gotta wait for this to load though. Why? What should I talk about? What should I say? I don't know, bro. No one's watching, and that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with nobody seeing this. But I'm going to be making videos and trying to help my mom and stuff. So that's that. But, you know, let's see. Me right before I fall asleep because I must know the first time the Testimonian Flavinium passage was the first mentioned in historical record. Destroy your ego. You shouldn't destroy your ego, but instead use it as a tool without identifying with it. Spiritual lies? Off. Okay, let's see these 5 points. Destroy your ego. You shouldn't destroy your ego, but instead use it as a comes from is good, right? You should see where. But I don't think like the topic of destroy your ego, it's not like you're wrecking down your feelings and just making yourself like a stone cold soldier that just follows the faith. That's not what it's like. It's understanding like what's the problem with what I have? How can I deal with it? How can I grow? How can I change? Right? How can I progressively change, right? Christ doesn't call us to change by just destroying it, wrecking it down. Unconditional love will change the world. It does change the world. People who love and don't expect things in return fully just like that are some of the most inspiring and beautiful people out there. It says simply offering love can promote intolerance, so you must actively stand against hatred. I get the point against going against hatred, but it's not, we're not saying love like love everything. We're saying love each other, love the good things, love the things that God has created, that God has made, and use that love for good, right? But we're not saying love evil, love hatred, love sin, love bad things, love your ego, right? We don't say that, you know? We say love yourself, love Christ, love the Bible, love the people, right? And like love God's creation, that is good, right? Like love God's creation, right? Like that's one thing. But not like, you know, unconditional love is unconditionally loving everything in all of existence. That's not what we're talking about. We must escape earth. No, we don't talk about escaping earth. We talk about making a difference in the earth we have now. Yes, lots of Christians are talking about, you know, the Jesus' second coming and making predictions and stuff like that. But maybe those people are more focused on trying to escape earth. I think we have to make the most of what we have time here. And when Jesus comes, Jesus comes. That's my point of view. You can't know ultimate reality. Believing the ultimate truth is unknowable limits to you, whereas true enlightenment is about understanding and knowledge. You can't understand well, that's honestly just basic common sense. You can't understand everything in existence. You can't understand the truth behind everything. You know, like you're not going to be given solid 100% proof right in front of your eyes all the time about where does this rock come from. You'll just know it came from somewhere, right? Same thing with the earth and all of existence. It came from something, right? We as Christians believe that it came from. We can know everything, but we can know and understand the concepts that are given to us and the things that we can know and the ways that we process those things, right? Maybe not absolutely everything, but we can understand most of the things, right? And 5, the universe will take care of you. If this replaces God with the universe, we should take charge as we are the universe and our own saviors. We are not our own saviors because humans make mistakes and no human besides Jesus was mistakeless. Isn't that obvious enough? Jesus is the only person that has never made a mistake. The universe will not always take care of us. The world doesn't always take care of us, and that's a truth that we understand. The world is messed up and there's bad things, and it will not just hand you everything. The universe will not just gift stuff to you. God will, of course, help you, maybe in ways you don't know. But in a sense, God is there, right? I mean, maybe if he won't help you in the sense of like if you tell him to, or if you just say so, right? Like even through prayer, you know, God answers our prayers, but it doesn't mean that it will be answered always in the same way that we imagined, or it will answer immediately, or it even answer the way we think it will. It can be in any way that we don't even know, right? Because maybe God has an intention for us that we don't know. These are good spiritual things, but some of them are kind of iffy on certain things, but the last one wasn't too bad, I guess. Okay, this lady again.
What's wrong?
Bro, her content is just, it's just like, it's nothing bad.
Oh, my Santa hat? I'm just getting ready for the holidays. Excuse
I don't think Christians care about wearing Santa hats that much. Excuse me? Excuse me? I'm a Christian. Why are you wearing Santa hats? We're supposed to celebrate Christ? Bro, this is so over-exaggerated. Exaggerated. Saturated egg. Exaggerated. Exaggerated, okay? We know that Santa isn't real, guys. There's no evidence behind Santa actually coming. Okay?
me.
Let's see.
Celebrate 30 years ordained. And after going to cemetery, I mean...
We shall see.
The more I deconstructed Christianity, the more I realized how deeply it centers men. Women are taught in the church to submit.
It's because it centers men. Okay. First point that I will say, before we continue with this video, is that regardless of whether it centers men or women or both, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. And even if it does seem wrong in the perspective of, oh, I don't believe it's truth because it cannot make sense with the current way that I believe that it's fair, right? What I will say is, first of all, roles, right? Men and women have different roles. We're born with different roles and with different callings. People are meant to do things in God's plan. And so if you just think that the church is wrong because women don't seem to have the same place that you believe they should be, I don't think that's a fair assumption to say that the church is wrong, because there's not really anything behind it. You're just saying that you disagree with the way that the church is structured. Which, if you disagree with it, go read the Bible. Go learn about Jesus. Figure out what you disagree with that is so, I guess, sexist that you have to talk about it and, make an argument about it, right?
Stay quiet, stay humble, be peaceful, forgive endlessly.
Yeah, but guys also have to do that as well. Yes, women have their own roles, and it seems like it should be quieter, but at the same time, it's like men also have to be humble and have to obey God and have to sometimes be quiet and have to give themselves up to God, right? Yes, women can become priests, but becoming a priest as well is also something that is difficult, right? It's also something that is a sacrifice, and women have to make sacrifices as well. We just believe that they're called to a different type of sacrifice than men are always called, right?
While men are still allowed to lead and expected to lead, regardless of their emotional maturity.
Well, we have women leaders and we have men leaders, and yes, men are leaders of the church, but again, roles, right? I'm not going to continue with the short because I can kind of see where the point of it is going, but what I will say is that we don't believe that women don't have an importance or are meant to just be side characters. We think and believe that women are supposed to be key characters in the church, including the Blessed Mother, right? The Blessed Mother is extremely important and extremely big in the church, especially the Catholic Church. And just to say that, women don't have as much importance is not true. Yes, men have the standing of, yes, they can become priests. Yes, they can, have certain roles that women can. But at the same time, it's like women as well have a different role, right? They can be mothers. They can, they have a gentleness and a compassion and a kindness, like Mary, that isn't always so special and contributed to men. Women have their own role, not just in the church, but also emotionally with the way that humans exist, that it's not really fair to say, oh, in the church, women aren't as significant. It's just saying, oh, in the church, women just have a different role inside and outside the church, right? Just by God. So that's just what I will say.
Control starts before you ever think you're making a decision.
How religion robs children. Ooh.
You've already had this lifetime of programming informing every decision you think you're consciously making. Like, oh, my 8-year-old is the age of accountability. They can't properly distinguish between fairy tale and reality at this point in their life. Their brain's not even fully developed. But of course they're ready to be fully accountable in the eyes of God and can be and they're choosing to be baptized. Isn't that great that they're making?
Okay. Yes, when you're 8 years old, maybe not, right? When you baptize your child in the church, you're taking up the responsibility and choice that as a parent do. But whether your child believes or doesn't believe in God in the future, baptism does nothing harmful and does nothing bad in terms of sacrifice. You are not getting circumcised, which isn't a bad thing either. But like, for example, you're not getting circumcised, or you're not getting a cut on your body or a scar on your body, or you're not being sacrificed, or you're not making a sacrifice that is so big as a child that you're going to be doing anything. Like if you get baptized, right? Maybe if you're 8 years old, you don't understand the full consequences and choices of it. You can maybe say yes or no, right? But the thing is that even if you can choose or not, it is the parent's choice. It is the parent's responsibility to make the decision if they want to baptize the kid or not. And even if they're in age where they're technically allowed to make the decision, right? It's just like, if they're too young to make that decision and the parents make that decision for them, then they can be baptized. But there's no penalty. The whole point of it is that being baptized brings you into true connection and relationship with Christ, that brings you out of the state of original sin. But it doesn't mean that like you're sacrificing everything from being baptized. There's no cons to being baptized besides just going to the church, applying, and being dipped with water, and being placed with the church. If you don't want to be with the church anymore, you don't have to be with the church, right? It's your choice when you grow up as well. Like if you're like 25 years old and you leave the church and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so annoyed that my parents baptized me. That wasted so much time for me as a baby. Or as an 8-year-old, oh my God, 8-year-old, like that wasted so much time and so much energy and so much yada yada. It's like, bro, I can't believe I was baptized. I wish I was never baptized. It's like, no, you look back and you'll be like, well, I don't believe that it was right, but oh well, right? If you don't believe it, right? But it's like, oh my gosh, bro, there's no cons to being baptized besides sacrificing a little time that your parents sacrifice. And even if you're a kid who can make decisions and they're like making it not on their behalf, it's still not like you're like chopping off an arm and sacrificing it, right? It's just a kind of like a vow that your parents place you there, right?
That conscious choice, no influence.
Maybe they're not making the conscious choice in full understanding, and maybe that's not in a sense right by your standards. But again, the parents make that decision as well, especially if you're too young to make that choice, and if you're older, then you can. But that's right.
Thus, of course, control.
So yeah. Okay. What is this on the corner? All right. What is this in the corner, bro? Okay, raw milk, guys. Eat biblically. Okay, this is pretty tough though. I will be honest. Okay, but this is different, bro. It's not even like a serious... Okay, this is just funny, though. I will be honest. This is not even like anything crazy. This is just kind of funny. Live and drink biblically. Oh my gosh,
Why
bro.
does Jesus want passenger, and then I allowed someone who weighs 200 pounds to go swing on my swing set, and it broke...
Wait, I'm so confused. The free will swing set.
Let me ask you something. If I designed a swing set that was...
Making someone not be sinful is taking away free will. You take away the choice to do wrong. Yes.
Let me ask you something. If I designed a swing set that was only able to hold 100 pounds per passenger, and then I allowed someone who weighs 200 pounds to go swing on my swing set, and it broke completely and utterly, whose fault would that be? Would I be like, that swing set had a choice? No, everyone would just think I'm freaking crazy if I said that, wouldn't they? Batshit crazy. Oh, but maybe I was just testing the swing set to see if it had structural integrity. Now that would still make it my fault, wouldn't it? Since I didn't design it to be able to withstand that kind of pressure. If your God is omniscient and omnipotent, then that swing set has no more free will than you and I do. Peace.
What? So your point is that God's design of free will was not able to handle the choice, like the weight of humans and their sin? I don't get it. Well, like the swing set is what metaphor? Free will? And allowing the human to go on is like allowing a person to be in that place of making free will? The swing set is infinite, bro. You know why? Because God is infinite, bro. God is everything and God is beyond everything. So there's no way that the swing set can break. There's no way that the swing set could be demolished. Do you know why? Because God is omnipotent and, as he said it, omnipotent. He's not affected by anything, and he can affect anything. Omnipotent, sorry. So, what I will say is that this analogy is really ridiculous. I will be completely honest, and this analogy is completely ridiculous. It makes no sense to me at all of this concept where God designed the swing set to be weaker than what the human can carry. If the swing set is Jesus, then it makes no sense because Jesus can carry the weight of all sins. If the swing set is just free will, it doesn't make sense because free will doesn't break. It's a concept of choice. And if he's talking about that being like the barrier between, like, I think he's trying to say that the swing set will break because God set it up as if, like, no matter what, you're just going to be damned to hell anyways, no matter what decisions you make. That's not true, and we do not believe that no matter what, you'll just be sent to hell. That's not how it works. It's based on your choices, and you can completely, freely make the choice. You are not going to be too sinful or too bad to break the aspect of, you know, being able to go to, like, being able of God's, I don't know, power to be able to, like, not be able to go to heaven. That's not how it works, right? I don't know. It's just kind of ridiculous because, you know, saying that, like, we're, like, damned on, like, we're going to be sent to hell no matter what is not something that is a fair argument, because hell is something that is a choice, not an obligatory destination that you'll arrive to. There is a certain term that describes, like, when you're, like, obliged to go in that direction, but I don't remember it. But you're not condemned to do anything unless you make the choice to do that, right? Okay, next one. Youth groups were fun.
Joseph had to wait for his wife for 7 more years. So I think you guys can wait a little bit longer. Am I right? That must be the pizza. I'll be right back. So Joseph had to wait for his wife for 7 more years. So I think you guys can wait a little bit longer. Am I right? That must be the pizza. I'll be right back.
What? Okay, bro. Ball ride. What is this? I just don't. I don't know what the point is. Boys are horny. Is that the argument? The youth pastor is gonna tell you to wait a little longer to get a wife. Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my gosh, how evil is that? Let's see.
The God of Genesis creates the world, creates humans, and immediately starts laying down rules. Don't eat from that tree. Don't question.
Literally, bro.
Starts dropping rules, bro. And it's like,
Okay, I won't make fun of the accent.
it was like, why can't they eat from the tree? And why is the tree
Oh my
that you don't have
gosh.
to eat from?
Yo, do you guys see this though? There's just so much slop from the atheist perspective. It's so ridiculous. There is slop from both Christian and atheist and other religious belief sides. That's perfectly understandable. But oh my gosh, bro. Literal slop.
In the middle of the garden. Put it somewhere else. Or don't create the tree at all.
It's supposed to be tempting, bro. It's there for a reason.
It's like bro was playing on a downfall.
No, he was just making it obvious that there was temptation in the first place.
Like bro had the serpent in the garden as well. It's like, brother, if you all know,
Bro, because he let it happen, not because he wanted it to happen.
you knew what was gonna happen. It just seems like you set them up to fail. That's what it
You didn't set them up to fail. You set them up to make the right decision. And they didn't choose to make the right decision. Because both sides were equally balanced. Right? You had the rest of the garden, and then you had one tree. It's not like he made 99% of the trees evil and one tree good. He made 99% of the trees good and 1% evil. I mean, I'm not saying it's like completely accurate, but let's just say, imagine it for the context of it, right?
seems
Not imagine it, but just like the idea of it, where it's a garden and there's tons of trees and only one of them is a bad tree.
me, bro. But hey, y'all can argue whatever you want, but that's what it seems like to me, gang.
Okay, well, next one.
Okay, so you need to believe before it's too late.
And again, we just have that fear. Like, stop thinking about it. Stop taking your time. You're running out of time. Come back to God before it's too late. You don't know how much time you have. It's like, hurry up, hurry up. I'm not scared. Give me one good reason why.
Okay. Christian fear tactics are not good. Let me say this again. Making people feel scared to watch your content is not a good thing to do. You should be inviting. You should be welcoming. You should not be scaring people into watching your content. One of the biggest Protestant creators that I know of is called Realism. And a lot of his content is kind of like guilt tripping in a sense to make you want to stop and watch. You know, it's the type of content that's like, you know, if you don't watch this, like, you know, like you're turning down God type of thing, right? Not exactly word for word, but that type of stuff, right? So when you make someone worried and fearful of what choices they make in terms of watching your video or not, that's not true Christian, like example. Because look at Jesus. Look at Jesus. This guy didn't force anyone to listen to him. He stood up and he spoke. That's all he did. He let people come. He was welcoming, but he didn't say, "Oh, if you don't listen to me, you're going to die and you're turning down God." No. He said, "I have the truth." Right? Please listen to me. Right? He didn't force people to come to him. He didn't make them fear God by coming to him. He just said that if you make the wrong choice, there are consequences, right? But he never said, if you don't listen to me, you're going to hell. Or if you don't listen to me, you're going to heaven. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, right? He gave the truth and nothing less and nothing more. But he didn't make people feel bad about not listening to him. He just said, if you want to know what is the answer, I'm the guy. I'm the answer for that, right?
I should even believe that your God exists. And then give me a reason why I should follow the Christian God. Because the Christian God is a monster. I'd rather go to hell than...
A monster? He's a monster? He's a monster, right? Someone who does bad things, like evil things, right? A monster, like disgusting and mean.
Follow this Christian God. If God wants to let me into heaven without having to pay the fee of following him or submitting to him, and I can just live in paradise separate from him, that's great. But if I have to follow this God and play by his rules and worship him and whatnot...
That's the point.
No,
I'd rather
don't like
go to
it.
hell. So I'm sorry. These fear tactics don't work on me.
You
Well-
need to believe before it's too late.
And again,
Well, I will be honest, these fear tactics are not always the best and aren't good all the time. So that's not what I will say. But my perspective is that, fear tactics can be wrong to do and are usually wrong. And actually, I think they're always wrong, right? Jesus didn't make people fear not listening to him. He just said, listen to me because I'm the truth. Not listen to me because if you don't listen to me, you're going to be hurt, right? I mean, he said that because of the truth, but he didn't say that because of trying to scare people into listening to him, right? Okay. The last video I'm going to be watching is I'm going to be commentating on Joe Bartolozzi's I Don't Believe in God video. And I'm just going to be commentating on it, being respectful, and just giving my perspective and giving my points on his video
Before I get
and what he says.
These saints will hand deliver it to you, just like they did for me.
Before I get into this video, as you can see, you probably clicked on the
Remember, we're going to be commentating on this, okay? We're not going to be disrespectful. We're not going to be saying stupid stuff. We're just going to be talking and having a fair discussion on his points and, just talking about it, right?
title. I am not here to diss any specific religion. This is going to be a video on why I am not religious myself and why I do not currently believe in a singular or one God. Okay, I respect all religions. It is your own individual belief that you are allowed to have, and I respect your belief, and I think that religion serves a very good purpose in society.
So, respectful, okay? Continue.
However, I am going to be, giving a list of reasons followed by explanations of why I personally have fallen out of faith and also am no longer religious whatsoever. To start off, I wanted to say that I have not been...
I didn't know that Joe Bart was originally religious. So that's actually good to know.
Christian self-identifying since 2021, just about. So it's been, 4-ish years, but it was a slow decline for the last few. I also want to say I was not a very practicing Christian. I was not somebody that went to church all the time. I did, however, go to a Christian high school, and I did go to college, which I graduated last year, for philosophy and religion. The first year I was doing exercise science, but ended up switching because I loved learning.
There's not much I can commentate on that part, so we'll continue.
About philosophy and theology, which is the study of religion. And it's a topic that I find fascinating. It's why I even have this channel to begin with, is because even if
remember, this is Joe Bartolozzi Philosophy. So if you guys want to, find the video. I know you guys know Joe Bart. I'm not a big YouTuber, so you probably know him more than I do, 100%. But YouTube channel, YouTube video. Right. So, continue.
If I am not religious, I still find these topics to be very important to me, and I do want to find answers myself, which is why I love talking about this stuff, because I love reasoning about these things and hearing other people's perspectives.
Yeah, I think the important thing about understanding the faith and understanding about, just believing in God first of all. Just understanding and believing in God first of all is always crucial about searching and researching and understanding what is the actual truth. Right? Because it's like, even if you don't understand, even if you don't believe in any organized religion at all, I think it's always better to try to at least find the truth before trying to find what just satisfies your own needs, what your own wants, and just trying to make yourself believe in something that might not be true, right? You don't have to believe in the concept of materialism just because it's the only thing that seems reasonable without research, right? Where you just believe in the things that exist physically that you can touch and you can see and you can feel, rather than just believing in what, might be beyond that in a different level. So it's good for him, amazing for him that he loves learning and researching and seeing more about it. So I want to see his actual points and understand why he doesn't believe in God and give my perspective onto, I guess, how do I reconcile with these questions as well, right?
Which can help shape my own. Now, I went to a Catholic high school from 2016 to 2020, and I did philosophy and theological studies 2021 to 2024, first year I was doing exercise science. But the start of my, decline in believing in, religion as a whole started when I was in high school, probably around sophomore year. Every year we had to take theology classes as part of being, in a Christian high school. You had to learn about Christian.
Yeah. I go to theology school. Well, not theology school. I go to a Christian high school as well. So just knowing that, what you see is that theology is a very huge part of it. It's a very huge part of the curriculum, right? So it's like, kind of like, you learn about Jesus, you learn about God, and you learn about that type of stuff. So I'm very accustomed to it, so I can understand his perspective of that as well.
Regardless of whether or not you were a Christian, there were people that were Jewish, Muslim, and every, religion on the face of the earth, not really, but a lot of religions that weren't Christianity, people went to these schools. You still had to take Christian theology classes because you were a part of the school. Now, the first year, you just have an overlay of the religion, kind of stuff that everybody has heard of.
Yeah. What we learned on in the first year was like, Jewish history and like the Old Testament and like understanding that. And we did learn about Jesus, but it was actually sophomore year of high school that we kind of started progressing into learning more about Christ specifically. The first year was just overall learning about the topic of like, where does it come from? How does it originate? What are the basic like plot line and story points of the Bible, right? And the overview kind of, but not fully everything, because it doesn't go a lot into detail. Like I didn't learn a lot into detail about Jesus at the first year compared to the second year, right?
If you've lived in the United States, because the U.S. is, primarily Christian religiously. So nothing really sparked my, philosophical thought there. It was just kind of an overview of the religion. When I started taking sacred scriptures in sophomore year, I began to disagree with a lot of the things that the Catholic faith had. A lot of the interpretations they had on specific scriptures, I did not agree with what the priest was trying to tell me on what that specific text said.
Okay.
Now, that didn't really, bring me down a rabbit hole until junior year when I took morality and sacraments. And now morality is one of the, most fascinating topics to me in the philosophical or theological world on what is right or wrong. And a lot of the things that we talked about, I did not agree with what the church stood for. And it wasn't even necessarily every single thing that I could nitpick that they would say. It was more so...
Yeah. I'm wondering what type of things specifically, like what things in particular about, the faith, like about this particular scriptures. Like I would like to see actual specific scriptural points. It's also good to share that and to understand, like what did he see, that I haven't seen that has that, right?
The idea that they broadcasted, and many religions do this, you broadcast your religion as the universal objective morals that humans have to live.
Yeah.
And I didn't see morality as that. And this is even what I wrote my senior paper on in college, was that I think that morality is individually objective, right? It is true to you, but it is universally subjective. What I believe is going...
Well, that's also kind of a fair point. That morality is based on what you believe, in a sense of you only have to uphold it if you actually believe in it. So what I'll say is this, right? If you believe in God, like I believe in God, let's say, I believe in God, and I believe there's an ultimate truth, an ultimate reason, and an ultimate system and rules that are set up that I am not allowed to break. And if I break that, there are consequences, right? So morality is kind of just, is this right? Is this wrong, right? Is this done for good? Is this done for bad, right? So yes, in the sense of, to you it can seem objective, right? Like I objectively believe that murder is wrong. I objectively believe that, cheating on your wife is wrong, or cheating on your husband is wrong. I objectively believe that abusing your children is wrong. But to somebody else, they might say that, oh, maybe it's not wrong. Maybe it's needed for something good. Maybe you might want to cheat on your wife or your husband because you want to go live a better life,
right? You want to have more freedom, right? So I get what he means, where it's like morality is objective to someone's perspective, but subjective to in terms of everything. But I think the understanding is that that's also the way that things work in life. You know, if you believe that something is something, you know, you believe that that is the truth, right? Someone might not believe that's the truth. So yes, it's different from different perspectives, but subjective means that it can be subjective doesn't, like, objective doesn't mean that it is definitive to everyone. It means it's definitive to what you believe and what you know. If I believe it's objective truth and someone doesn't believe it's objective truth, it's just a matter of who's right or wrong. It's not a matter of just morale or like of religion is not correct or it's different or it's different from that. It's just understanding that you have to learn and research and understand the different perspectives and faith-based things, right? And understand what is the truth and see what is your objective truth and what is, you know, what you don't believe in.
Be drastically different from what you believe. And to say that one is true and the definitive belief set that we all have to live by is not something that I can get behind. Now, that's not me throwing morality to the side. I'm not saying that...
Yeah, but I think this is a discussion of truth. Discussion of, is this right or wrong? Not because of just, I believe because I believe. It's because I believe because I know. And if you say that, what I challenge Joe Bartolozzi to do, what I challenge you to do, Joe, is to go and ask the people who are telling you this stuff. To go up to them in person and ask them, why do you believe this? Not just, you believe this and it seems like it might not be the ultimate. Like, you just teach this ultimate standard. I get the perspective that teaching an ultimate standard and an ultimate belief without, you know, being given other options is a little bit harsh in a sense. I understand that. But I think you also have to go and ask the typical questions. If this is the truth, show me why. You know, if this is reality, show me why. I don't think this disproves it, this argument. And maybe he doesn't get behind it, which is, well, he doesn't get behind it, which is understandable. But I think you have to go and you have to ask, why do you believe this, right? Not just, okay, you believe it, but why, right?
Right and wrong doesn't matter. It really does. It is something that is needed for societies to function. But morality is what I would say, Friedrich Nietzsche would say, is a necessary illusion. It is something that we need for a society to function, but it is not something that is definitively true on a universal set. Morality only applies...
Yes, because people have different experiences and people have different understandings and people have different truths. One person can say, oh, I believe that God is real. One person can say, oh, I don't believe God is real. One of them is right. But it doesn't mean either one is equally valid unless there is no absolute truth. So the understanding of it is this. If there is an absolute truth, there is an absolute truth, right? Right? There is an absolute truth, right? I'm holding this book because I feel this book, because this is something that is existing that I can actually experience, right? You can say, oh, one person can say, oh, it's an illusion. Oh, it's something like that. But you can say, oh, this is real and oh, this is not real. And that's two perspectives. One can be right, one can be wrong, but neither both can be wrong. There is an absolute truth. And the point of encouraging the faith is to say that this is the truth. Now, yes, I do believe that the Christian faith should actually help students explore more about why it is the truth rather than just be saying it is the truth. But I don't think it's completely fair that you can't get behind it just because you don't think that it makes sense, right?
To humans, and I believe that it was made by humans. It's not something that is going to apply to aliens or any other species. It is only something that we as an individual species care about. And that brings...
Well, yes, that also makes sense, but you also have to understand the uniqueness and variety and speciality of the humans. And yes, the universe is broad, but you also have to say, well, it doesn't make sense because humans are the only truly intelligent living life forms that actually have this capability of understanding this. If an alien came from space and told us different things, then questioning God about our specialness of humans is maybe difficult. But it doesn't mean that just because there is a possibility of aliens being, or there's a possibility that humans aren't the only intelligent, highly intelligent creatures that exist, it doesn't mean that this is wrong. It doesn't mean that God isn't real. It doesn't mean that Jesus didn't speak the truth. It doesn't mean that all these things didn't happen. You just have to find your way with certain things, right? And not just find your way, you have to understand and look for the truth, right? You have to first ask, is God real? Then if God is real, then ask, well, like, why does this happen because of God, right? So you have to understand those things.
Me to more a scientific thing, but the idea of holding humans higher than other species really bothers me. I understand.
Okay, I get the point of saying, like, oh, yes, we share this world with other organisms. And maybe it would be more understandable if you had, like, you know, like, other species that like no other species besides humans. But I think what the fair thing to say is that when we look at, like, I guess, let's say from a Christian perspective, we see humans as a different level of species. We don't see humans as just an organism or just, you know, a people who believe in something, but we see as humans as something that is, like, we understand concepts that are beyond physical matter and beyond just chemical reactions and beyond just chemical energy. We understand concepts like love and justice and free will and things that aren't just confined to making what is feeling good and what is bad. Every animal besides humans just does what is good or what is bad in terms of their own survival. Humans do things based on what is good and what is bad based on understanding for their survival, but also more than that. We understand the level of spirituality because we have a unique soul compared to animals, right? We have an intellectual soul that searches and finds the truth beyond just, you know, I do this to live, right? Like, we don't just go out and search for food and evolve, right? We go out and we search for food and we grow and we understand and we develop things that help us understand things that are more complex, more rich, more deep, more beyond just what we know on Earth. Humans strive for things that are more, right? And yes, you can say that there's an argument where it's like, oh, religion is just a man-made belief, you know? It's just something to cope with reality. And that's a fair argument. But I think the main perspective that I would give is that humans have something in them that is more than just the physical survival instincts and needs. Why do we care for people who are in wheelchairs? Why do we have compassion for babies who are dying in the forest? Why do we care about someone that's struggling with something all the way over in the other part of the world that has nothing to do with us? It's not based on survival. If there's a kid in Africa who's dying due to starvation, why would I donate money to them if their death is not going to mean anything to me? Right? Well, like, why would I do something like that? Like, send money without telling people just so I can seem to, you know, do something good. Why would I do good out of something if it's not going to matter? Right? So it's about, does it matter? Right? Like, it has to have actual stuff behind it, you know?
We are smarter and we're more capable of...
Well, it's not just because we're more intelligent, it's because we understand things that other animals don't understand, and we go through and beyond that, right?
You know, communicating and achieving progress within the world rather than a deer that just lives in the woods. But to say that we, on God's viewpoint, are better and handpicked to be the one animal...
We're not handpicked. We're purposefully created, right? So it's not like we existed and God pulled us out. It's that we were made with intention, right?
That is gonna go to heaven and be the one...
And by the way, I'm talking to this by a Christian perspective, not by just like a normal...
That's going to be judged and go through all of these different things is illogical to me. We are... I mean, this goes down to whether or not you believe in evolution. But to say that we, a species that evolved from random mammals that lived in holes during the dinosaur age and slowly became, you know, more intelligible, had a larger brain capacity, more neuroconnections, got lucky with fire. We're able to eat food quicker, communicate with each other because of our easy tongue and mouth biology or anatomy, where we're able to communicate with each other and then share knowledge through generations. Yes, we get more intelligent and we are better than other species, but that doesn't mean that we are handpicked by God. That means we...
It's a good argument, but I think from my perspective... Okay, fine. It's a good argument. But again, as I said, humans, I think, are beyond just the physical matter, right? I do truly believe and see that humans do have a soul, and not just like that humans are just instinctively better biologically, but that we have an actual deeper connection than other animals do in terms of, understanding purpose and understanding justice and understanding love and understanding compassion, right?
Got fucking lucky is how I see it. Another thing is the belief in a soul. I don't think I have anything that transcends beyond death, right? Which is another reason why, if you watch my streams, I like the idea of Buddhism's nirvana. Now, Buddhism does believe that you do reincarnate in different realms of existence, but the idea of not existing is something that I can really get behind, because that's what I think is going to happen. I think that when I die and my lights turn off and my eyes close or my eyes keep open and they don't blink again because I'm dead, I don't think there's anything after that. I don't think there's any part of me that exists within me that will transcend beyond my physical being, because all I think that I am is a physical being. Now, I do exist and I have thoughts and I can contemplate and reason.
Okay. That is fair in the sense of that's very honest. That's a good thing, right? Being honest about that you just think and understand things just by the perspective of what you see in the world around you and nothing more. But again, it goes into, is God real? Do I have a purpose and stuff like that? And, I think there is something of a soul that is more than just what we see as humans, right? I think there is something of a thing that is beyond it. And I think the true evidence of that is just the way that humans act compared to animals act, in the sense of compassion, right? The most obvious thing. Animals don't care about another species of bird on the other planet of the world. Seagulls don't care about penguins. They don't care if a penguin is dead. But if a guy sees a person from the other side of the world who wears different clothes, looks completely different, and has different life experiences pass away, that person can have true sorrow and compassion for them and can understand things, right? So humans see things and understand things, not just smarter, but beyond them, and search for things, right? We search for things that are beyond our understanding. An animal is not going to ask questions, even if you give them sign language or understanding of how to use, like letters and stuff. But humans are going to continuously grow and learn and innovate and discover things that are beyond what they already know, which I think is unique than any other animal, right?
Which is fascinating, and a lot of other animals can't do that. But just because we can doesn't mean that we have something that transcends us beyond death. All matter will be transformed. It can't be destroyed, and that's a big reasoning that people use to, say that there is a part of us that will go beyond death, because matter can't be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. But I think my matter and me will just be transformed into dust. I don't think that any part of me will be moved to another plane of existence, if that makes sense. Another big reason why I kind of fell out of religion, and more Christianity specifically, was the idea of heaven and hell. I don't like that hell exists. I think...
Well, I will say this. Look, if you have a perspective of what you believe and you say that I don't like is nothing that you cannot be satisfied with, then I think you have to go and ask yourself, even if you don't like it, you have to see what is the truth, right? I think that the ultimate thing to try to look out for is what is the answer, and not just what is the thing that I prefer. Because that's a big thing with a lot of people who don't believe in God, right? I'm not talking about Joe Bartolozzi, or I'm not talking about a specific artist on YouTube, or I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm saying that if you truly do believe in God,
you have to see, and not truly believe in God. If you truly don't believe in something that is, by concept, you have to see if there is evidence behind it. If I don't believe in God, I have to go and see, does God actually exist? Does God have something in me, right? So I think the question you have to ask is is God real? If he is real, then understand, where is this God shown? And if he is shown in certain ways, then you have to ask, what is the truth? Not what do I feel like is right or wrong. What is the truth, right? So the biggest thing that I have to disagree with Joe Bart on this point is that you have to find what is the truth first, and not what you personally think is the right option for belief in your life, right? If I just think Jesus isn't right because I just feel like it, or I just don't think it seems right, then it's like, how is it fair to anyone else, right? Like, it's not being based off of truth. It's being based off subjective interest and subjective standpoints onto what do you think is right and what do you think is wrong. Not based on what is the actual truth and what is the evidence behind that.
That it is a means to deter people from doing bad, not necessarily fear-mongering, but it puts
from a Christian perspective, heaven and hell is not supposed to be just trying to, hell is not supposed to exist there to make heaven look better. It's just an option. Heaven and hell is just a choice. Do you want to be with God? Do you not want to be with God? It is not you should be afraid of it. Yes, a lot of times in history, Christianity has been putting off the idea that you have to be afraid of hell. But that's not the truth. You just have to go and say, do I want to be with God and do I not? And we just teach a lot that not being with God is just taking away all the goodness that God has. Or not taking away the goodness God has, bringing yourself away from the goodness that God gives. And so you're just taking yourself out of all the good and realizing that you're missing all of it for all of eternity, right?
Fear of God in your eyes so that you act correctly. And that has a good result in that people will act correctly, but they do the right thing for the wrong reason. If this goes back to the show The Good Place, if you've ever seen that. There is somebody in that show that ends up going to hell because they did great things in their life, but they did them to make themselves seem better. They did it to help themselves and have other people view them as good and possibly even make themselves feel good enough to get into heaven. Now,
so Jesus does talk about this. He says that, and I think it's in Matthew chapter 7, verse 21. Well, in the book of Matthew, he talks about saying, "Depart from me, for I never knew you," right? And he's specifically saying this in context to, these people who went up to him and said, "Lord, didn't we preach and prophesy in your name? Didn't we do good works in your name?" Right? But Jesus says, go away from me. Right? Be out. Go somewhere else. Right? You don't belong to me. Right? Because Jesus wasn't searching for someone who was doing good things. He was searching for someone who was doing things out of good heart. Right? And I get Joe's point where it's like a lot of times it seems like we're like the fear of God is that we're afraid of God's punishment. But I think the fear of God is not, oh my gosh, I have the choice to pick God over evil. Oh my gosh, I have the choice to live my life for something that is more meaningful than what is just in the physical realm of things. So, yes, the answer to it is to say, oh my gosh, there is an actual truth to this, and I think I should follow the right choice. Not, oh, I'm so scared if I choose the bad choice, something bad will happen. Because, yes, something bad will happen, but I think it shouldn't be out of guilt tripping. It should be out of understanding that you have a choice to make the right decision, right?
I don't think that the majority of Christians act that way, but there are people that do things out of fear of punishment. And that goes back to the origin of morality too, where people did...
And that's fair, yes. There are a lot of Christians who mainly think it's because of just punishment. But I think as a Christian, as me personally, from my experiences, I've developed a faith. I think I have to understand this thing. when you learn, when you grow, when you understand things about, God, and you understand things about learning the world around you and learning about Jesus and so on and so forth. And, sometimes it's not, I think the main priority shouldn't be because you want to end something with God forever and live in goodness forever, right? So it's about some Christians, maybe they're like, oh, I'm so scared of the idea of going to hell, so I'm going to be a Christian. But I don't think you should live your life as a Christian like that. I think the way you should live your life as a Christian is you say, okay, I want to look at my faith. I want to look at the truth. And I want to say, what is best for me and what is best for God? Because as well as God loves you, God spends time with you, God knows knows everything about you. So following him is not just about avoiding the bad. It's about wanting to share in the good and wanting to live in the good and wanting to give back to him all at the same time, right? It's not just about fear.
Feel guilty for things they did badly before religion was or Christianity specifically was very big, because you feared what would happen to you if you did things that didn't follow the universal or majority rule set. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say hell and heaven are different from how most people perceive them. Hell is not just an eternal burning. It's more generally a lack of God.
Yes, and that's fair. But as well as that, it's you just have to understand, it's also to understand as well that it's to be with God or to not be with God that's the choice. It's not just it's not you're going to be, it's not a burning place of fire. It is still a punishment, and it's still understanding that you'll be away from God. But it's truly just the choice of what you used to do with your life.
Not with God, you are in a place that God is not, and heaven is the opposite. Conversely, I know also people would probably say that to get into heaven and not go to hell, you have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. The other problem that I have with that is that I physically cannot do that, and so it annoys me that people will say I will burn in hell or I will go to hell because I cannot accept Jesus. The logical, reasonable being that I am, right? I'm not saying that other people aren't, but I'm saying the way my mind processes is that I have to reason that something exists and I can't disprove it within my own mind for me to believe it. And I don't even know what I believe in a lot of ways, because any opinion that I arrive on, I will immediately try to disprove. I play devil's advocate in every single thing that I ever try to.
That's perfectly fine. Being skeptical is actually a very amazing and good thing that you should do as a Christian, or not just a Christian, as a person, as anyone. You should always look into why. Being skeptical and asking questions. Is this right? Is this wrong? What am I doing? What's the right reason, right? So I think the thing to understand about this is that just looking at it and just understanding it is this. You have to understand it with patience, and you have to understand it with clarity, and you have to understand it with time, that if it seems too harsh for you to say that you'll be sent to hell or you'll be condemned, just say that. I think the obvious thing to say is that not every Christian is speaking in the way that just Jesus would, right? What I would say is that, yes, if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to go to hell. But at the same time, it's ask yourself as well, why don't you believe in Jesus? What is the reason? What do you think of Jesus as a person that you've seen before, that you don't believe in him? Right?
Today I might not, because I'll find of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof, but I can't do that. I can't believe.
And that's perfect. Or just unbelief. Because if it was just based on, oh, I believe in this, then you can believe in absolutely anything in the world and that will be truth to you. And there is no reason for you to doubt it. But that's not the reality of it. You have to look at the evidence, bro. You have to look at the understanding of it, Joe. You have to be like, yo, why is this not evidentially correct? What about this faith is not good and is not right, right? Is there evidence for God? If there is evidence for God, how is this God revealed? If how is this God revealed is revealed to you, then find why is it like this and how it works and understand it. And just trying to disprove it and trying to understand it is a great thing. But you also have to be open-minded, you have to understand, and you have to go and you have to look at the evidence as well. Because faith is not just based on belief, it's based as well on evidence very heavily, right? The existence of God, the way that Jesus spoke and the way that his disciples taught, the way that things existed, the way that things grew and progressed. It's like it has actual stuff behind it that makes more sense as evidence rather than just being as belief.
I wish I could, right? I have a lot of people in my stream and in YouTube comments, blah, blah, blah. Whenever they hear that I'm not Christian, fell out of Christianity, or just am not religious in general, oh, you should just believe in it.
No.
I think she's gonna like the dark stuff.
You should not just believe in it. That's not how it should work.
Better than me? Tap to play for free.
How much for this box of chips? $30, right?
Hope you brought a truck.
That's not how it should be.
I don't want to be a fucking dickhead here, but do you realize what you're saying is illogical? Just believe in it.
Yeah, I know. That does seem illogical. That's what I'll say. If you just say just believe in it, that's not how it works. There is a portion of the faith that in a sense you have to have kind of a, closed-eyed, trust. But it's not, most of it is not like that. If I were to look at my faith at a purely evidential, also by the way, this photo is kind of funny. If I were to look at my faith at a purely evidential and a purely faith-based balance, I would say about about 70% of the faith is by evidence, and the other 30% is based on just, understanding like that I have to trust, right? But I would say actually it's more of a 90%. I don't understand things fully, but I'm saying that probably about 95% of my faith is actually based more on actual logical understanding and belief rather than just saying I believe, right? I don't just believe in Jesus because I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus because of the way that he spoke and the things that he had and the miracles that he did and the historical evidence about him and the writings that were about him and the way that his disciples taught and preached about him and the way that he talked and so on and so forth, right? And like I need to go learn more about the church and understand certain topics about that. But at the same time, it's like, I have to base my evidence on faith. I mean, not other way around. I have to base my faith on evidence. And so this stuff, right, is a fair point, but it's not also a good thing. I don't think any Christian should go and say, oh, you just need to believe. Because it's not just about believing. Jesus didn't say just believe me. He said trust in me, and he showed miracles, right?
Can't. I physically can't. I am jealous.
And that's perfectly fine.
Of people that have religious belief because you can just believe in it. Right? I'm not dissing you. I'm not saying that you're dumb or anything. I'm jealous of you that you're able to sit down and believe in something without physical or reasonable proof of it being real.
So
right?
I also will say that there is physical and real proof, and I would recommend Joe to actually go look at this. But to also understand that as well, it's also really honestly very fair, like not fair, sorry. It's also very genuinely refreshing to see someone on the internet like Joe Bartolozzi to be genuinely open and genuinely honest, because that's what he's also known for, but genuinely open and honest about understanding that and saying outright, I'm jealous of you guys who believe in something and don't, and can't just just kind of find it stupid because there's no there's no background proof behind it. I think for me, it's like there is background proof, but it's also I'm very appreciative of the fact that he's being very open and honest about saying that it's also, in a sense, there's a benefit to also believing in that stuff, right?
Understand Jesus existed, and they told us in high school he was one of the 3 L's, Lord, Liar, or Lunatic. Regardless, I don't even know if he was any of those, right? To say that he was Lord, Liar, and Lunatic. People may have just misinterpreted him, right? The Bible has been translated so many times. It was made thousands of years ago. To say what Jesus said is still in existence today, may that be true? I don't know. I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments that try to disprove every single thing I say here to prove their own specific belief, but I will always have something to rebut you that makes me, not you, wrong, but it makes me not believe in what you're saying. That is a big problem for me. It's another reason why I love philosophy, because there are Christian philosophers that try to prove God's existence a priori, right? Without previous knowledge, without previous biases, they try to prove the existence of a God, or of just any God for that matter, without a religious text. And that's what I love the most, right? That's why I love philosophy. I love the subjectivity of it, and I love the reason-based proof. I don't like having...
Yeah, I think it's very completely fair, and I think this is actually a better perspective than you would see as a typical Christian, where it's just believing because of belief. It is not fair to just believe because of belief. It is, I think, completely fair to believe because there's evidence behind it. I base my belief on God because, first of all, I understand that, from what I know in all of creation, things don't come out of nothing. It seems completely improbable for me to imagine that the world became of nothing just because it just did. That seems ridiculous to me. Now, for me to also say that I believe that there is a God that is beyond space and time is more probable than saying that there isn't, because there is something that is physical. There is something that is existent, right? So for something to exist, something has to exist before it to create it. And the reason why I believe in God is because God doesn't exist within that, but is beyond it and can make that happen, right? Can create it out of nothing. And it seems confusing and all, but at the same time, it's kind of just the evidence. The order and design of existence, the way that things are developed, the understanding of things that are beyond just the physical world. That stuff is evidence of a God. And then you look at that evidence and you say, okay, that is more or not more probable to believe in than not. Than to just say, no, it isn't real, right?
A conversation with someone where they try to prove the existence of God with the Bible. It's a circular argument.
Yeah, you cannot prove the existence with God just with the Bible. You have to use outside sources as well.
Somebody like me that doesn't believe in a religion, that you're going to prove your religion with your religious text is illogical, because if I don't believe it...
Well, I will be honest, the way that Joe Bartolozzi speaks about these issues as well is something that is common and something that is also big and is also not fair to see from a perspective as well. And I think that's perfectly fine that he's bringing up these topics, and it's completely understandable. But I think as well, you have to also look at the own evidence outside of what the typical Christian may seem to give you, and ask yourself the real questions beyond it. But I think he's had a very morphed perspective about it that I can completely understand and see seems extremely illogical from his side, which is completely fair. But I think as well, I challenge him, go and find the truth behind it, right?
Your religion, I therefore don't believe in your religious text. So how are you going to then tell me that this is real because of this when I don't believe in either of them? And this kind of delves into the two types of religious people that you'll see in life, right? And I know I'm getting off topic here on why I don't believe in God, but this is what I'm getting into. There are religious people that believe in their religious text, whatever it may be, because they have read it, they have reasoned about it, they have confirmed that reasoning, and it coincides with the text, right? They have done the work in their mind, they have gone through the mental hoops, and they have derived that their religious text is correct. I have nothing wrong with that. The problem I have is that there are people that believe in whatever religious text because they believe in it. They have never gone through the hoops of proving or trying to disprove it so they can be fully ingrained in it. They just believe it. And I understand that's faith, and at the end of the day, both of them are faith. But one is faith guided by reason and confirmation of their own beliefs, and the other is blind faith. And I don't...
So look at the first one. Look at the real reason and the evidence behind it, and not just because you believe. Okay?
Like the latter, right? I don't like believing in something to believe in it. And that's how I was. And I tried to prove Christianity in a reason-based argument for myself, because that's obviously what I was. And
that's fair.
It didn't loop back, right? It didn't come back. I just did not believe in it for obviously a lot of the reasons that I've just previously said. And a big reason that I didn't get out of it for so long was because I was afraid of hell, if I'm being honest. That was, and I don't know if people relate to that, but I wanted to believe in God because I thought that if I didn't, I was a bad person. And obviously...
But, yeah, I mean, I think the way that Jesus, like, as an example, just gave stuff is that it wasn't just about fear, about hell. It was about searching for the truth. And not just searching for the truth, but to be in love with God. So I think the main argument, like the main thing about this is that it's completely fair and actually very honest of him to say that he was afraid of hell. And I don't think that's the right way to base your faith on it. It's just say, oh, I'm scared that I'll be doing something wrong. I think the way to base your faith on it is saying, I'll be missing out on something that is amazing, not saying that I'll be sent to something horrible. From my perspective, it's this. It's like, I'd rather have the opportunity to have something that is genuinely, astoundingly amazing instead of something that is just, supposed to scare me into following it, right? The honesty is amazing.
Everybody's done, wrong things within their life, and there's things that you need to obviously sit and reflect on. And that goes back to another thing of the idea of confession. Now, this doesn't exist in every denomination of Christianity, but in Catholicism it does. The idea of going to a priest, confessing your sins, and then listening to them on what you should do to resolve yourself of those sins. I didn't like that as well because it motivates people to not feel bad about their things, right? There are things that they have done wrong. I believe that when you do something wrong, you should sit and rot in it. You should have to live in that because that makes you a better person, right? For me to be able to go to a priest, say I'm sorry, right? Him to give me a...
Okay, so I get his point where it's like, so like going to confession and, it's like saying what you're doing wrong and then, walking out of it and accepting and just saying that you're done with it. That's a completely fair point. What I will say is just, even if that is not the right solution to it, what is? What is the truth, right? What is the answer? What is the answer, right? So it's like, if something doesn't sit right with you, then research it. But if it's just because it doesn't sit right with you, then I don't think that's a fair argument, right?
Of things that I need to say, and then me to be absolved and not have to worry about it anymore is something that I don't like. And now the faith itself does say that you actually have to be sorry for those things. You can't just say you're sorry and then, go through these processes and then you're cleared. Similarly to how I could say I believe in Jesus, but if I don't actually believe that Jesus is the Lord and Savior, then I'm not going to heaven. And those two things I didn't like because I understand I have free will, but I don't have freedom of choice. I cannot choose to believe in God. I have tried. It is, and I feel like so many people that I talk to are just like, just believe in it, because from their own personal perspective.
That's really ridiculous, though. You cannot say just believe in it and expect that to be a fair argument or fair point. You have to have evidence.
That's what
you have to have reason.
Done.
And I think that's what Joe Bart needs, a certain person to go up to him and say, hey man, this is the evidence behind it, bro. This is the reason behind it. This is the explanation behind it. Not just the believe in it,
Right, and it's worked for them. But for somebody from my point of view, I can't just believe in God because it doesn't make sense to me. Not saying that I don't understand it. I had to take 4 years of college classes, 4 years of high school theology classes about this. I just don't believe it. I don't believe in it. I also think religion is innately human-made. And this is one of the big reasons why I'm not religious, is because I think that people and early humans needed ways to understand the world around them with the lack of scientific and generational knowledge that they did not have on hand. If you're one of the early humans thousands of years ago and nothing makes sense to you, the easiest way to be safe in your curiosity and not let the world's confusion consume you is to say, God created it, or this God created it, right? Even if you're not just a singular God, you could go into Greek mythology or Hinduism and there's multiple gods that control and are the reason for definitive things existing, right? And it really makes those beliefs, or not really makes those beliefs, it makes those I don't want to say people in your head, but the confusion that goes on when you don't understand something as a human consumes you. And having God to turn to explain those things when you don't actually understand the answer makes things feel a lot better, right? The God of the gaps, as they would.
Yeah, I mean, there's the argument where you can say that like God only exists because, well, not God only exists, but saying that like people only, like the reason why God is in existence in people's belief is because it was just a coping mechanism. Again, look at the evidence and say, like, where does the planet and all of existence come from? Where does the universe come from? Where does the human soul originate from? Where does the human drive of certain things come from that is unique to other animals? Why are certain things like that? You know, like why do we understand things that are within philosophy, and why do we understand justice and love and purpose and fulfillment, right? It's just based on like actually researching. So I wonder how much Joe has actually researched it on basing it on like actual understanding of like the metaphysics on the like on existence, or just, you know, just saying he doesn't sit right with him, so he doesn't believe it.
Call it. But as we go throughout the world, right, as we've gone through history, more and more things are no longer, this is God, it's an explainable thing that we previously didn't understand. I think humans are innately self-criticizing. Your biggest critic is yourself. People always say, and I think that's true. I think you, but mentally. And part of the problem with that is that if you look at individuals that achieve specific successes, right, a lot of the time they attribute the bad things and the small things that they accomplish, right, or do wrong to themselves, and the things that they achieve greatly to God, right? And I think it removes that, the success that you need to live in, right? It removes that.
I mean, there is self-criticism, and you know, there's that common debate where it's like, you know, if, you know, Christians have a guy that survives heart surgery, they're going to, if it goes wrong, they blame it on the surgeon, but if it goes right, they blame it on God. And that's a fair perspective if you're saying like, oh, excuse me. That's fair perspective if you're saying like, oh, I just believe that this is wrong, or oh, I just believe that this is right.
Hey, you earned that, right?
But I think there's two sides of it, right? I think in the actual Christian theology, it's not truly about saying that like all glory goes to God, all bad things goes to you. I think it's saying that God is not the bringer of our mistakes, but he works through our mistakes. So even the things that we fail in, even the things we do wrong in, right? It is mistakes because we are flawed, not because God is flawed. And when something good happens, it's of both parties that do something good. Both the surgeon and both God had a contributing aspect to it. God is the leading force that creates the surgeon out of nothing, that builds all of creation, and that allows this goodness to happen. And the surgeon is the one that goes out of his way to study, to learn, to develop, to grow, and to be able to use those skills to actually save someone. Yes, there is the thing where it's saying, oh, if something good happens, you give the glory to God, and if something bad happens, you give that flaw to the human. But I think the thing is that in reality, when you actually look at the actual theology, you understand the fact that it's not that it's about condemning the person and glorifying God. It's about understanding that God is the true bringer of all of the goodness, and the human is the worker of that under God's supervision. And both have roles of their own of making that happen, and both should be praised for what they do if it is amazing. But as well as that, it's just like, because something bad happened doesn't mean as well that it's just like, oh, the human is evil or human is bad all the time. It just means that, you know, like we as humans are flawed and we make mistakes. That is the reality of that, right? If we do something bad, it's because we made a mistake or something wrong turned out, right? If it's not in our control, then that's different. But if it's something that is in our control and we make a mistake, then we make a mistake. But if it's not in our control, then that's more of the way that the world is rather than the way that just that the individual person is, right?
Like, at the end of the day, you can thank God, but at the end of the day, thank yourself as well. You are...
That's also true. You know, you can't just thank God for everything and not, you know, give any of yourself any of the success, right? If I were to say, like, let's say I become the best basketball player in the world, I could give the glory to God fully and say, God, you are the bringer of all this amazingness, right? But then you go and you look at yourself and you say, God, I'm proud of who I've become. I'm proud of how long I've pushed. I'm proud of who I've developed. I'm proud of the effort I put in and what I was able to do. So you have to say, oh, what I did was good and I did succeed. And part of it was God and part of it was my choice. And I think that it was from both sides that did greatness, right?
Wrong to say that you're weak-minded and you have to attribute every single thing that you accomplish to God. I can't do that. Right, that's another thing. Like I
think fairness is saying that it's from both sides. You know, God is the bringer of it in the originality, and then the human is the outputter of the actual instrument. Right.
I was not the greatest track runner in high school, but when I ran track in high school, there was times that I would win events. There was times that I made it to nationals, and I'm not sitting there. I wore the cross at the time, right? I was a Christian then. I wasn't sitting there going, oh, God, let me win this event. I was going, I did this, right? It took me a year of practice, weightlifting, running, conditioning, eating well to be able to fucking compete and do this. I can't attribute.
Yes, attributes go to both sides, I think. But when you understand it from a really deep perspective and a personal perspective with Christ, you understand that Christ, at least from my side, is the source of the goodness, and through me it can be done, but I still need to be gone through me, right? It still needs to be done through my myself and through my effort and through my choices. So the person or the individual is responsible for that, but God is also responsible for even having that happen in the first place as well. So it's from both. It's not just one or the other.
That to somebody else other than myself. And again, I need to say, I'm not dissing anybody for any religious faith that you may have. I respect every religion. This is not a criticism of Christianity. It is why I cannot agree with it. Every faith has their own role, and every faith isn't for everybody. That's why there are so many religions in the world, is because there are so many different beliefs that people fall into, and maybe they fall into none of them, right? I'm one of them. But I think I need to reiterate, like, I think that religion has a genuine purpose. I think people need something to fall into that can explain the world around them and give them guidelines on how to be good. And I think that religion serves a great purpose in that. But I am not somebody that has that. I don't want somebody to tell me. I wish somebody could tell me why I'm here, right? Why I exist. What this world even is around me, why I'm a human, what a fucking human even is, what are the words that are even coming out of my mouth. But anybody that tries to give me that answer, I'll find 45 reasons why I think you're wrong. Not that I'm right, but why I can't believe in what you're telling me. And so it's easier for me, as hard as this is, for me to kind of just figure out that path and my own individual purpose in life, rather than have somebody tell it to me.
Yeah, I think Joe Bard also has a very hard perspective from his side, where it's like he sees a lot of stuff from a side that is very inconsistent with logic. And maybe his perspective is that, you know, he's talked with a lot of people who, you know, give arguments that aren't very logical or very fair. And that's perfectly fine. To kind of be skeptical about that and to kind of look at that and say like, oh, that's not making any sense, right? So, you know, I think he needs a good person to come up and to talk to him about that, right? I would love to debate, or not debate, but have a discussion with him about it and ask him about the stuff and the purpose and questions. And I love the genuine openness and honesty he has in saying that he truly does want to believe in something. He truly wants to search something because he knows that there are benefits. He knows that there are amazing and good things that come out of being someone who actually feels like they have a purpose in life. But I think his perspective of Christianity has been in this kind of stage where it's like, it's not about purpose, it's about not going to hell, or it's about, not making the wrong decision. I think though the true way to look at it is, from my perspective, is that is there is genuine love and care and guidance by a being that is beyond what I know that I have evidence for and that I can understand in the real life. And only because of him do I exist. And it's not because out of fear that I follow him, but it's out of understanding and love that I have the choice to make that decision to believe, to live, and to love. So I think when it's not out of fear, but it's out of genuine love and understanding, that's where the faith is the most beautiful. But I think it's been morphed a lot into making it seem where it's like you just have to believe. And if you don't believe, then you're making the wrong decision, right? So I understand Joe Bart's points and his perspectives. And I'm very actually proud of him as an individual because he's very open. It's so rare on the internet to be open and to be honest and to be respectful and to be genuine. And so it's like when you can be genuine and honest, that's the key part.
Because whatever they tell me it is, I'm going to not believe it, and I'm probably going to go in the opposite direction. And it's hard, man. Like, I don't want to say I have anxiety attacks, bro, but it's this heart-wrenching feeling knowing that I'm going to fucking cease to exist. And it's the most confusing thing in the world. I just made a video about how I don't recognize myself at times. I think that religion,
I think that's completely like a real genuine experience where it's like if you don't have an ultimate purpose or understanding, it's like you're just going to end up turning into nothing and there's nothing more. And I think to understand that as well, that's how I first found God, is that I was asking the question, do I have a purpose? Do I have an existence and a meaning that actually matters, right? I found it. And that's why I want to share it, you know? But I understand from his perspective. If I was the same person as I was years ago, before I found Christ, and I was, older, I think I would definitely also be worried and sad and confused about understanding what is my purpose and existence of life, right? And I can understand from his perspective that it's like it's very scary to not have a truth or to not have an answer to the meaning of life and just to believe that, you'll just end up dying and going to somewhere where you cannot explain.
Keeps you molded together, right? I think it keeps you locked in, right? But when you're not religious, I think all of those random fucking questions about life in the universe are going to start chiming into your own brain and they're going to eat you up. You're probably never going to have an answer for a lot of those things, but none of the answers that are currently available satisfy me. I don't believe that any of them are right, and so I would rather live a life knowing that I...
Yeah, that's very fair, and that's very honest.
Know nothing than believe in something that I truly don't believe in. And
yeah, it's like, why would you believe in... It's completely fair. It's like, I think I agree with that too. It's like, I wouldn't believe in anything if as well I also didn't understand and see and learn about something that I genuinely believe in as well. Like if I believed in Christ, but I didn't believe in him out of true love and genuine understanding and purpose, then I would be like, this is not real. I'd rather do whatever I want rather than do confined to rules that I don't understand and don't believe in, right?
And I think that kind of summarizes why I there's probably other reasons, right? This is why I also, the rants are hard because I'm so used to streaming. I'm a very reactive, riffing person, and having people kind of question and throw things back at me really makes it easier for me to like remember specific reasons, because I just listed fucking 10, but there's probably 5, 10 other reasons or other things that I could say, or I could maybe expound upon things better. But I'm obviously alone sitting in a room right now talking about this, so it is pretty hard. And I also want to say, I know people are going to get mad, and that's fine, right? People get upset when their beliefs are challenged. But I want to let you know that I'm not challenging your belief. I'm just explaining why I don't believe in what you believe.
Yeah, and he's also, I think it's also very appreciative. I'm very appreciative that he's very respectful about it. He's very open, honest about it as well.
Some of you guys might have the same, opinion as me. A lot of people might have the opposite, similar in different ways. But I want you to know, I genuinely do believe that religion has a purpose, right? I think it is needed for a lot of people. It's just not for me. And I know there's going to be a million comments that are going to tell me that I need to turn to this God or this religion, because it's going to give me the answers. I can tell you that I would say that it's not. I'm obviously only 23. There's still a lot that I need to learn. I love reading philosophy. I love learning about different religions. But in my, path.
And so I've got ambient music to an African reading the Psalms. I'm ready to punch the devil in the face. I'm ready.
Finding myself would be a better term. In my path of finding myself, I've kind of arrived on the opinion that, number one, the self is fucking up in the air. No idea who I am, right? Outside of a fucking thinking thing that doesn't understand anything. And two, I have not and likely will not know or believe in any specific thing before I die, right? I obviously have no idea. Hopefully I'll live.
Joe Bart, if you ever watch this, please, I would love to have an open discussion with you. I know I only have 300 subscribers, and I'm a small-time YouTuber, but I would love to talk to you about this. I would really do, just an open dialogue and just being as respectful, kind, and honest as possible, and just talking about it. I would want to learn. Am I wrong? I would want to talk to you and see, are you right? Am I right? Who is right? What is the answer? What is the truth? How can we reason and talk and just have an open and fair discussion? I truly don't believe that this might reach him, but I'm just hopeful that it can, if it can one day.
Long life, maybe I'll find something. But I think 50 years from now, if I'm still alive, I will likely have just a different morphed opinion that is very similar to the opinion that I'm sharing now. I've kind of just accepted the fact that, not accepted it, but I've kind of come to recognize that I think there will be nothing after I die. I think life will make no sense. I will live a random, confusing life on this earth, and I'll die. The only thing that I understand and can recognize is that I should be good to those around me, because other people are going through the same exact thing that I am, and every one of us, in my opinion, will live one short life, and we might as well be kind to the people around us so they can live the best one life that they will ever live, just like mine. Now, will I be
I think it's a very scary reality that if you don't actually believe in God, that is the truth. Right? And a lot of atheists make it seem like, not believing in God is like a secret, or it's like, it's like a truth that no one tries to accept. But you also have to come to terms with what he's talking. He's saying that if you don't believe, he's agnostic. Let's get that straight. Not straight atheist, agnostic. But even if you don't truly believe in one God, if you go and you look at the perspective of an agnostic or atheist, and you don't have a solid belief in anything or nothing at all, you have to also come to terms with understanding that your life doesn't, your belief in life is that you don't have any meaning. You don't have any purpose. You have no reason. After you die, you just die, and it's that. And you don't have anything beyond chemical reactions and physical collisions and, bodily processes. It's just energy and matter. What's the matter with that, right? So I think it's to understand it is to say, okay, there is actually something maybe out there. That's my perspective. And to actually look at it. And I found something. But from Joe Bart's, it's completely understandable to also say, you know what, everything that I see in my life just doesn't seem to have as much conclusiveness as I want it to be. And I don't believe in any of it. And that's okay. But it is also a hard reality. And I've experienced it firsthand as well. As someone who hasn't felt like he actually had a purpose and actually had a reason to exist, right?
Incarnated? Will there be an afterlife? Will there be another dimension that I warp into when I die? I have no fucking clue. But I can say that the only thing that I need to do in this life is be good to those around me and just live, right? And obviously I do want to question these things, and I think I will continue to do so, but I also want to say, for the people that are dealing with the same thing that I am or struggle with their belief, don't let it fucking eat you alive. Think about it, but don't let it consume every day, right? I think about it every day, but not all day, right? If you're sitting there for 6 hours a day just fucking dwelling on life and sitting confused, you're going to give yourself anxiety. You're going to freak yourself out. You're going to make yourself depressed. It's not good, right? I'm not saying don't think about it. I'm saying in small amounts, you know. At the end of the day, you gotta return to the simulation at times. You gotta just fucking live your life, because if you look back and the only thing that you were,
if I was not believing in God, then I would have like nothing holding me back in terms of doing stuff that I wanted to do. But oh well.
Ever doing was sitting confused.
At least that's how I would see it.
Confused about the life you're living you never lived in the first place. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to end this video. You know, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I might make a follow-up video kind of answering some of these or something of those sorts. If you have any other philosophy rants that you want me to fucking make, feel free to do so. This is probably a really long video all over the place. I don't know if I made any sense. I genuinely did not mean to offend anybody as well. I just want to preface that because I know something. The two big things that people hold near and dear to themselves is religion and politics. And they get really upset if you not necessarily attack their beliefs, but disagree, because I think religion is a definitive thing that defines someone's personality in their own self. And so when I sit there and go, I don't really believe in that, you may take it as an attack to you. But I really need you to know that this is just me trying to explain my own belief set. I'm not attacking your belief. I'm just saying why I don't think.
Okay. Great video. Final thoughts. Today was a good stream. Today was a good day. Very grateful to God and very grateful that I can give this up to the Blessed Mother. What I will say is that a lot of the time we always perceive religion to be a strict, rule set, boundful way of living. And I think the way that religion works in my life is that it is a truly inspiring and beautiful and fully amazing way to understand and develop things in your life and understand them in the world around you. And I think Joe Bart has had a very rough and difficult time with understanding and seeing from his perspective the actual logic and reasoning and understanding and beauty behind actually discovering something that is truth, right? And he wants to believe in that. And I think a lot of people do, especially in the modern generation, want to find something, want to believe in something, want to see something that is truly real. So I think the fair perspective is search what is the truth, right? The moral of the story is search what is truth, find what is real, look at the evidence, and always make sure that you find the right answers, right? So thank you all for watching the stream. Thank you all for tuning in. God bless you all. God bless Joe Bart and all the shorts YouTubers that I just watched, and may they also have a good day and night, and just have no disrespect and no harm, and just saying I respect the honesty and appreciation with all the content. Thanks to Joe Bart for letting me react to his video. And Joe Bart, if you ever want me to, I can always have a discussion with you, even if you'll never ever watch this. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for this. And I'll see you later, guys. God bless you. Bam.